Oh, no, no, no. What is this? I thought Nintendo Switch 2 was a massive failure, and yet within 4 months, it has sold 10 million units. In fact, not even 4 months. As of September, so about four. Like as of September 30th, it sold 10 million units, 20 million software units sold, and Mario Kart World has done 9.7 million, and Donkey Kong Bonanza has done 3.5 million. And obviously, this is just before the holiday season. This is just before these numbers are about to spike in a big way. And these are both games that will continue to sell for years, possibly over a decade. Okay, like both of these games, I think, are going to do significantly more than 20 million units sold. And yet, we're going to wait. We're going to see a lot of people sitting there coping and seething about how the Switch 2 is a failure. And, these numbers say it all. It is a hyper successful platform right out the gate. So, this is uh, this is very embarrassing for those of you who have spent the past couple of months trying to say this thing was a failure or that it didn't do well. Like in less than 3 months, this thing has outperformed the Steam Deck's lifetime sales. You know, its premier game has cracked 10 million units sold. And it will continue selling that significant numbers going forward. It's had a number of successful titles. 20 million units sold. Okay, like the entire cope that people had that like nobody was buying third party games on this thing and that there was nothing to play. With it by next in the next couple of years, I think it's going to crack 100 million. Actually, now by the end of next year, I imagine it'll have cracked 100 million software units sold. So like the entire narrative that people have had about this thing, the idea that it was a failure, the idea that this was somehow some massive like potentially business ending hardware, like the giant cope that PC gaming was somehow going to destroy Nintendo. It's just completely imploded. And these specific numbers don't even cover Pokemon Legends ZA sales. Like they aren't going over the biggest release of the year for Nintendo. We're not going to see that until next year. We have seen that the Switch 2 is hyper successful. It's pulling big, big numbers. It's performing beyond expectations. Nintendo has raised their forecast from 15 million to 19 million units. Like it's a successful console. Let's move on. Okay, that's kind of my takeaway from this. Like looking at these numbers, we need to stop allowing certain YouTubers to try and act like its success is up in the air or that it's an uphill battle for Nintendo, that they have to prove themselves, that the console is overpriced. It is very, very clear to me that Nintendo knows exactly what they're doing. That this was a hugely successful console launch, that everyone's really happy with their Switch 2s, and the people bitching, whining, complaining about it are just coping and seething. They cannot handle the fact, the grim reality that Nintendo is outperforming PC gaming. Like they actually are producing high quality merchandise. They are producing Hollywood films. Their hardware business is booming. Amiibo are doing exceedingly well. Like, how exactly is PC gaming going to outdo that in any way, shape, and form? In this day and age, you can't even get people to pay for a subscription to WoW. Okay, this is a very strong indication of where the industry is going. Complete Nintendo domination, not only in the hardware space, not only in the software space, but in the entertainment space in general, right? The PC master race is running off of fumes. Okay, they are seething that Nintendo is doing as well as they are, and they're gonna bend over backwards and do whatever it takes to try and keep up this farce that Nintendo is failing, that they're not doing well, that 10 million units sold is somehow not, on a new console is somehow not impressive. I think the big hope going forward is that they're going to say that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be bigger than the Switch 2. It's going to bring the console sales to a screeching halt, and that nobody's going to talk about it or play it anymore once it does. And that's definitely something that we do need to nip in the bud now and address. It simply isn't going to happen. Grand Theft Auto 6 has an audience. It is going to sell like 100 million units. It is going to be this huge cultural phenomenon. It's going to be this huge deal, but it's not going to destroy Nintendo. That's kind of the predicament that Xbox and PlayStation is in now, is that no matter how well they do, they will never be able to drive Nintendo into bankruptcy. That initial period where they bought off all the major third-party developers to produce mature games for mature gamers on their platforms, like that hasn't been a successful business model since like 2004. Okay. It's been falling apart for years. Seeing how everybody just sits there and copes and seethes and just try and makes excuses for why they do what they do, and why all of this just kind of erupts the way they do, and seeing just like how things play out. Like the simple fact of the matter is that like Nintendo Switch 2, right when it was announced, was met with a bunch of backlash and skepticism online, and not a single iota of the claims that people uttered, about the price point, about the console, about the games on it, like not a single thought that passed between these people's tiny brains really became some kind of real predicament or controversy for Nintendo, because they were people that had no intention of playing or supporting Nintendo hardware, regardless of what it actually was, what it did, or how good it was. They were going to sit there and complain about it no matter what, and say it failed. And in the end, that's exactly what they did. Even though this thing is clearly a monumental success story and should be celebrated in the gaming community. But are you seeing like Angry Joe talk about it? Are you seeing Grums talk about it? Are you seeing the Act Man talk about it? No, because those guys are grifters who don't play games, who don't know anything about games, and just want to continue this farce, thinking that PC gaming and Warhammer 40K is going to lead them into like some glorious mature gaming future. And in reality, their entire house of cards is in collapse and has been for a long time. I think Angry Joe in particular doesn't understand just how precarious his position actually is, like just how much his views have tanked, and how just nobody really watches or his content or cares about what he has to say anymore. You know, People hate how he treats Alex and OJ. Like everyone hates his Superman obsession. Like there's so much you can say about Joe, but like I think for me, like the big thing about him and people like him is that if you don't talk about or cover Nintendo content, I'm not going to listen to you when you try and downplay the company and its successes. And I think that's been a real problem that gaming YouTubers have had over the past several years. It used to be very easy to write off Nintendo and say they weren't making games for real gamers, and that you focused on the mature stuff for mature gamers. But in this day and age, like Nintendo games are way better than what the competition produces. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is still the best open world game ever made. And it's something that Joe tried to downplay at the time. He never covered the sequel. He tried to say it was too samey. It is not. And in the end, whenever he tries like running his mouth about the Mario movie or about anything else Nintendo does, he makes himself look like a dumbass. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm very interested in seeing how people like that try and downplay these numbers. They're going to sit there and try and say that these numbers are pathetic and that they aren't living up to expectations, when I can tell you for a fact that they are very good, and it is definitely proceeding as expected. And the coping and seething will continue, I think, for quite some time. But it does need to be said that like Nintendo has officially gotten past the launch window period. Like there will be going forward, no doubt whether or not this console has been successful, because it is. Anyone who says otherwise at this point is simply coping and seething.